website so far. Fantastic. I want to thank you very much for that. And that doesn't mean it's closed. It's still open for online discussion. So I'm going to encourage people to carry on with that. And also, I think scattered around the room, there should be some papers that have a blue picture on them and QR codes. So that's going to be for the post at the end of my chat here. Now, I like to blend things a little bit. So when Steve asked me a very short time ago to put this talk together, my mind just started, exploring possibilities, and I said, "Oh, great! Why don't we do in a proper augmented reality avatar? Let's make me." And have me in there, and I can be engaging with it, and he's like, yeah, great, but we don't have enough time. That's not going to happen for this talk, but we'll talk more about that later. And so over the weekend, I thought, all right, I still like the idea, but I'm going to put it together in a dumbed down version here. So I'm going to do my talk with me interviewing myself. All right, and if it doesn't work, tell me about it later, but I'm going to give it a try anyway. Along with that, I used to be an Adobe international education leader for over a decade, and I've got Adobe Connect running in the background, and it hasn't crashed yet, so that's good news. And so any of you that were on their website, if you wanted to sit in on the webcast as well, you're welcome to do that, and put in any text discussions for live interaction for that. So here we go. Let's give this a try.
Hi, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Anthony Skip Basil, who will be doing the talk today about AR.
Okay, so I'm Anthony Skip Basil. I'm an Associate Dean over at Hult International Business School, right around the corner, actually, not too far from here. My background is in learning technology design. What I'll be chatting about a little bit is more on the education theory. I think a lot of the other people that will be following me will be getting a little bit more into the tech and some fun toys. But I'd like to rattle your brain a little bit today, thinking about the education side of this.
This outline looks pretty good.
Well, thank you. I think so. We're going to start off with something that I've coined in my thesis called telepistemology. I want to get a little bit into procedural knowledge, the age-old controversy, training versus education. On the website, there was quite a bit of interesting debate about that. Slide into higher education. I'm working at a university. This is my focus. But I've also done a lot of work with work-based learning, workplace learning. And so I want to touch that a little bit. Get into the HR context, the higher education context for augmented reality, and then throw a few, hopefully, controversial conclusions together in.
Can you tell us what you mean by telepistemology?
Okay, well, this is a phrase that I coined a few years ago. And the question really is, what is knowledge? So if you look at epistemology, it's talking about the way we view knowledge. How do we understand meaning making? Does this view of knowledge change then with the use of technology such as augmented reality? So this is the thought that I want you to be chewing on a little bit while we're going through this.
Okay, So give me an example of one kind of knowledge.
Right. Well, when we talk about knowledge, this is what people tend to automatically think about. Procedural knowledge, instruction, information, facts. So let's take an example of, say, fire safety. You're in an office, you need to get trained on how to use fire extinguishers. So what do? They give you a paper-based booklet. And there's a sequence of instructions on how to deal with the fire extinguishers. However, I'd like to challenge that design and put it in the context of an augmented reality instructional design. What if we used alternative reality game theory, where we mixed the real world together in with a live game interaction? So in this case, what you could do is you could have the people that need to know about the fire extinguishers take their mobile phones, go around, find the actual fire extinguishers in the building, which would be handy in case of a fire, and be able to find the information about which type of fire that is appropriate for and what to use it for.
So what is the difference between training and education?
Okay. I've been going through this debate for years and years. And in this email that I got from a colleague sums it up. I'm not going to say anything more than this. How many of you have kids? All right. Tell me the truth now. Would you want your daughter getting sex education or sex training at school? Of course. Okay. So, you know, we can have a debate about this a little bit more later on, but I think that really just encapsulates it.
Right, I get it. But what about university?
Okay, well, I've been working in London now for over 20 years in higher education, and I have to say that this is a really important question. What is university about these days? Is it teaching higher education critical thinking skills, or is it job training? Do we in higher education go just beyond short-term memorization, where we repeat facts back, or are we giving the students the opportunity to learn how to analyze things, to be able to synthesize something, to take two different things, put it together, combine it to make something new, to innovate, and then to be able to look at trends and predict? Then, once you've done all that, can you then apply it into a real-world context? That, to me, is the direction that higher education needs to take.
And can you learn elsewhere?
Well, as I mentioned, I've done a lot of work with work-based learning, with learning in the workplace. And, for example, like at Hult International Business School, one of the great models that we have is something we call an action project. And that means we actually have the students working with clients in the company, with the company, on real-world problems. So it's a situation where you're taking the knowledge and those skills, you're applying it in a workplace context, and you're getting the opportunity to become an agent of change. So in this case, your knowledge, your learning, has the opportunity to impact not just on your own personal knowledge, but also the practice and policy within the organization, or at sometimes even at an international or at the industry level.
How about an example?
Okay, well, we've seen some really fantastic examples of augmented reality so far. One of the things that we're doing at Hult International Business School is some work with simulations. Most of the simulations that we're doing at this stage are a game-based scenario, and they're very much what I call like two-dimensional. So it's from the outside looking in. But the nice thing about the augmented reality perspective is that you have that immersive experience. So you can see here with this example of the picture.
Anything else?
Okay, well, there are a number of different opportunities to explore augmented reality. What I'd like to see is if we can challenge some of this in terms of providing ways of supporting discourse, debate, and collaboration. How many of you have heard of fishbowl instructional design? Have any of you? A couple people? Not too many? Okay. I came across this in a conference a few years ago where what we did is we didn't have this setup where everyone is sitting in rows and the experts are up in the front. Instead, the experts sat in the middle in a small circle. And the audience sat around on the outside. Now, while that debate was going on in the middle, when people had questions, they would swap places with the expert. So they sat in the middle, and they became the expert, and the expert sat on the outside to get the perspective of the audience. And this, again, is an opportunity, I think, for us to be able to change perspective, become immersive, and really take advantage of this type of technology.
Well, thanks for that, Skip. Let's finish up now.
Okay. Boy, it's pushy, this guy. Right. Pedagogy. Learning design. That's what's got to drive the technology. These are the lessons that I learned. First of all, identify the level of interactivity and engagement that you want for that particular topic or your knowledge domain. Next, really important, get the profile of your learners or your trainers. Find out about their prior knowledge. That's really critical. Find out about their experiences in higher education or training. And another very important element, the mastery of English language level. So these are just a few. Get that profile down. Then, as McLuhan has said, the media is the message. All right? The way you're going to design your e-learning event is going to come down to the text, the audio, the video, the augmented reality, and that's going to help you decide the learning opportunity. Okay, so this is where you take out your mobile phone and see if this works. I've got a QR tag there. If you're too far in the back, it doesn't reach. We've got some papers scattered around with a really good book that I'd recommend. That's my plug, by the way. And take your phone and scan it, and that should take you to not the original web page where some people were kind enough to compliment me by putting in their views of knowledge, but my after the talk activity to give you an opportunity to share some thoughts that I have about this, what I'm calling the web wisdom, and that word came up a few times in the discussion online. Does anybody got it? Is it working? All right, a few people. All right. So thank you very much for that. I would be happy. I don't know if we're doing questions now or at the end. Yep. All right. So thank you very much. I hope you appreciated that.